Jane Robbins is Senior Fellow with the American Principles Project, and she's going to share some thoughts with us as well.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here. I think it's appropriate that we're meeting across the street from a Gates-funded organization that is pushing Gates-funded education reform. And it's important to note that these types of strategies that are being discussed across the street are the same sort of thing as Dr. Milgram indicated that we've seen over and over again. It's Common Core, it's related progressive education strategies that are coming in even to Texas. Even though Texas supposedly doesn't have Common Core, it's definitely got the progressive education strategies that are there. And these they replicate and they in fact exacerbate everything that has damaged education over the last 50 years. But we're supposed to expect that this time it's going to be good, that if we just do more of what doesn't work, then this time it will make things better. And it's bleeding over into other areas of education as well, including the AP classes, for example. And there's something on the tables about AP U.S. history, the new framework that they've come out with for AP U.S. history, which will completely usurp state history standards, including Texas. There's almost no alignment between Texas history standards, but the people at the College Board, who are, of course, funded by Gates and funded by the federal government, are pushing these new revisionist history standards.
And we have the exam. A teacher preparing for this course would not look at any one of those sections independently. They would be looking at that unit of study, incorporating skills, getting those overarching themes, because history can be kind of fuzzy in different places. You can't just say it started on this day and ended on that day in many of the circumstances, and you can't just say that one great leader woke up one day and became famous and great. There's a lot of decisions and processes that have to go on. And then years later, people want to interpret. One of my favorite social studies guidance mentors told me one day, you got to remember, this is not the story of dead white men as taught by almost dead white men. There were other people there too. And you got to give room for that flexibility. You got to give room for that flavor and a true understanding of all those issues that came to play.
In fact, they will be driven by the test, which is subjective, it's not factual, and these are the kinds of objectives that are given to the teachers that they are forced to teach. One of them, I quote, "Many white Americans in the South asserted their regional identity through pride in the institution of slavery." Another one said, and this one, it's just beyond pallor, "Resistance to initiatives for democracy and inclusion included pro-slavery arguments, rising xenophobia, anti-black sentiments in political and popular culture, and restrictive anti-Indian policies." If parents up and down the neighborhoods knew that this is what would be taught to their children, they would be rising up in droves against it.
This nice question about the flexibility. As an educator, if I tell you you're flexible, and you can teach those things, especially the things in the gray boxes, teach all that, teach about, it has Booker T. Washington is in a gray box, by the way. Hiram Rebels, the first African American who was in the U.S. Senate, is in a gray box. I love that stuff. Actually, I've worked to bring those on our Texas standards. But here it says, AP exam questions will not require students with information in the gray box. I hear people talk about the breadth and the width of our standards. Of course, they've added a beginning period and an ending period. With so much time in class, would you teach things in the gray box if you're told it's not testable?
That's exactly right. And if you know that your students have to pass a test and someone is telling you, teach this, because this will be addressed on that test. This guts huge parts of history, but it's just saying those aren't going to be on the test. The teachers will be driven by what is going to be on the test, and they will cover that. But it's biased. It's biased. It's biased. They'll be teaching propaganda, basically.